Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists. Hello, I'm Dango Rose, and this is the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. In this week's episode, we speak to Suzanne Milner with Boulder Valley School District. There's a job fair coming to Nederland, and she's here to give us the details of what's available, where to go, and when it's happening.
We hear this week's music mentions from Jamie Lammers, and special correspondent Mary Rosen will share a special story about the history, science, and cultural significance of the summer solstice.
And for our final story, we interview Miranda Fisher, Nederland Town Administrator. She's here to remind residents there is a public forum town hall meeting scheduled for Tuesday, June 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. This is an open invitation for Ned residents to vocalize their thoughts on the trajectory of Nederland moving forward.
But first, some news from your neighborhood.
Here's something for our younger community members. Teens Inc. has a full calendar of fun and enriching events planned for the summer. Be sure to take a moment to see what's happening by visiting their website at teensinc.org or go by the center during business hours, located in Nederland, right next to Gershio Field.
For folks planning on taking it to the trails and visiting open spaces in Colorado, you can download the free trail guide app, CoTrex. The app provides updated information to hikers, bikers, and adventuring newcomers. This includes trail locations, trail safety, and trail closures, among many other useful features. Again, the app is free and can be downloaded to your device of choice, available from your favorite app store.
The town of Nederland, in coordination with Bohannon Houston, are excited to introduce the Nederland Housing Needs Assessment Project. The purpose of the project is to evaluate housing costs and needs in order to develop an understanding of how best to guide affordable housing policy and investments in the future, which in turn supports the needs of the Nederland community. Check out the interactive map on the Nederland Housing Needs Assessment website and share your thoughts on where you believe housing development is most appropriate within the community. There, you will also be able to share concerns, read other residents' comments, and drop a pin in areas you believe need to be avoided for development. You can find more information about the assessment in this week's issue of the Mountaineer newspaper, along with the link to get started.
The Mountaineer newspaper is accepting entries for our 2023 photo contest, Views from the Top. This contest is open to everyone living along the Peak to Peak, including canyon communities between Allens Park and Central City. We will be printing a select number of entries in the next It's Your Turn edition, coming out later in June. Be sure to check our show notes for more information on how to submit your photo. You can also find a direct link to the contest in this week's edition of the Mountaineer newspaper.
Read more local news and feature stories in print and online at themountaineer.com.
And that's it for this week's news briefs. If you have something to share, you can send requests for submission to info@themountaineer.com. As long as it meets our community standards, we'll be sure to include it in a future episode. Brightwood Music has been serving the Peak to Peak region and beyond since opening in 2008. The full-service music store offers new and used instruments and will even repair the ones you've got. Go ahead and check them out on Facebook at Brightwood Music. Brightwood Music is the best music store with altitude across the Peak to Peak. And now for our lead story. We talked to Suzanne Milner with the Boulder Valley School District. She shares some information about the exciting job fair that's coming to town.
Hi, Suzanne. Can you start by introducing yourself?
My name is Suzanne Milner, and I'm with Boulder Valley School District.
Thank you. And we hear there's a big job fair planned.
Exactly. We're very excited. We're going to be holding a job fair at the Nederland Middle Senior High School on Wednesday, June 28th in the cafeteria from 3 to 6 p.m. And we're hiring for a multitude of different positions all up there in Nederland.
So tell us some of the positions open.
Well, one of our most needed areas is a bus driver. You do not have to have experience in order to apply. We will train you, and you're paid for your training. And our bus driver positions are usually 20 hours per week or more guaranteed. And with that, at 20 hours per week, you get full benefits, which are paid for by the district. It's amazing. You get health care, dental care, and a life insurance policy. It's an amazing opportunity. And then after 90 working days, all candidates that are hired on and complete the training will receive a $1,000 sign-on bonus. But if you already have a CDL with classified B and PS endorsement, upon hire, you get an additional $2,500. So that's a total of $3,500 if you already have the CDL certifications after 90 days of employment, or $1,000 if you don't have that.
And what other opportunities will be available?
We're also going to be hiring for bus assistants, and they ride on the school bus with the bus drivers to assist with the children. Sometimes it's in the large buses, sometimes it's in the smaller bus for children that just might need a little bit more one-on-one attention or diversion while they are on the bus as well. We also have a multitude of food service positions. You know, we serve food that's prepared in our culinary kitchens here in Boulder, and we cook from scratch. We partner with local farmers in the Boulder area. We provide fresh, nutritious meals for our students. And for that, we require food service assistants to help us serve the actual lunches in the schools on a daily basis. Those are more part-time positions. We have one at the elementary school that's about 3 hours and 25 minutes a day. And we have one at the high school, which is 2 hours a day. And with that, you get telehealth benefits. You also receive a $750 sign-on bonus after 90 working days with those positions.
Suzanne, you said there were a few additional perks to working for BVSD. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. If you work as one of our food service assistant positions, you also get a free meal with every shift that's worked. So you get to enjoy the delicious food that's prepared. Everything is from scratch. It is actually very good. The menu rotates out every 6 weeks. We also have a custodian position that's available at the elementary school. And this is a 40-hour-a-week job, fully benefited. Same thing where the district pays for your health, dental, and life insurance policy. And those hours for the custodian are 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., and that does include a 30-minute lunch break. All of our pay is competitive for what we're doing. And with the custodial position, there's also a $750 sign-on bonus after 90 working days.
And please, can you tell people where it is and when to be there?
Of course. The job fair will be held on Wednesday, June 28th at the Nederland Middle Senior High School in the cafeteria. That's located at 597 County Road 130 in Nederland, and it's from 3 to 6 p.m. And we'll help you fill out an application if you're interested.
And if by chance someone can't make it to the job fair, can you tell us where to find other positions available with BVSD?
Yes, you can also view all the jobs that are available within the school district at jobs.bvsd.org. You do have to apply online. There are no paper applications accepted. And then in addition to those other jobs we spoke about, we also have a head coach flag football extracurricular position available that starts in August and goes through the end of September. And we also have an assistant coach for the ski cross country, and that's from November through February. Really Nederland, because it is such a unique situation, you drive up the canyon from Boulder, it really is, great opportunities and great jobs for if you live within that community. You don't have to commute very far. You get benefits. There's incentives for every job that we're hiring. You get to work when the children are in school. You get the holidays off. So it's a good schedule.
Thank you, Suzanne. Again, you can find more information about the job fair and other employment opportunities for BVSD by visiting www.jobs.bvsd.org.
And the higher we climb, like a bird take flight on the Great Divide, we're headed on the road. We're headed on the road, Lord. We're headed on the road. Yeah, we're headed on the road. Now we go to correspondent Jamie Lammers, who will be delivering this week's Music Mentions.
And now, for this week's Music Mentions. Head to Busey Brews, located at 70 East 1st Street in Nederland on Sunday, June 25th at 2 p.m. to see Scott Dale performing live. Head to the Canyon Tavern, located at 32138 Highway 72 in Coal Creek Canyon on Friday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. to see Will Whalen performing live, and on Saturday, June 24th at 6 p.m. to see Gemini Dragon Duo performing live. Head to the Gold Hill Inn, located at 41 Main Street in Gold Hill on Wednesday, June 21st at 6 p.m. to see Brother in the Haze performing live, on Friday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. to see Jake Legg performing live, and on Saturday, June 24th at 8 p.m. to see Jeremy Money Band performing live. Also be sure to head there on Sunday, June 25th at 6 p.m. to see Thunder and Rain performing live. Head to the Grand Z Casino, located at 321 Gregory Street in Central City on Friday, June 23rd at 8 p.m. and on Saturday, June 24th at 8 p.m. to see Gino Rail and the Mighty Nice Band performing live. Head to Howlin' Wind Brewing, located at 51A Main Street in Rollinsville on Saturday, June 24th at 4 p.m. to see Ghost Town Drifters performing live, and on 8 p.m. to see Funky Melt Music performing live for their second anniversary party. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown on Wednesday, June 21st at 5 p.m. for an open mic night, on Thursday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. to see Hunter James and the Titanic performing live, on Friday, June 23rd at 7 p.m. to see Rolling Harvest performing live, and on Sunday, June 25th at 12:15 p.m. to see Drew Peterson performing live. Head to JKQ Barbecue, located at 200 Gregory Street in Black Hawk on Friday, June 23rd and Saturday, June 24th at 6 p.m. to see Jimmy Lewis performing live. Head to Knotted Root Brewing, located at 250 North Caribou Street in Nederland on Friday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. to see Lunsford Sproul Duo of Rocket Parade performing live, and on Saturday, June 24th at 6 p.m. to see Riverspell performing live. Also be sure to head there every Sunday at 4 p.m. to see Jazz Sundays with Black Dog and Friends. Every Saturday at 6 p.m., the Millsite Inn hosts an open jam. Be sure to head there at 44365 Highway 72 in Ward to check it out for yourself. Also be sure to head there on Tuesday, June 20th at 7 p.m. to see Faded Paisley performing live, on Friday, June 23rd at 7 p.m. to see Wolf Lesher performing live, on Saturday, June 24th at 7 p.m. to see Rick Lobato performing live, and on Sunday, June 25th at 4 p.m. for an open jam hosted by Becky Martinez. Head to the Nederland Farmers Market, located at 85 East 1st Street in Nederland on Sunday, June 25th at 10:30 a.m. to see Kylie Brock performing live. And finally, head to the Very Nice Brewing Company, located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112 in Nederland on Friday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. to see Joseph Allen Beltram performing live, on Saturday, June 24th at 5 p.m. to see Eric Stone performing live, and on Sunday, June 25th at 5 p.m. to see John Brewster performing live. Did we miss you or your performances? Want to submit your music listing in the Peak to Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to your performances? Please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountain Ear.
Thank you, Jamie. Now let's drop in with special correspondent Mary Rosen, who shares a fascinating tale about the ritualistic significance of the summer solstice.
Scientifically, the summer solstice, this year occurring on June 21st at 8:57 a.m. Mountain Time, is the time when the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun and the sun falls at a steeper angle, causing the hot summer months. The sun's power is at its peak, and in terms of daylight, it is the longest day of the year. However, for centuries, people have been honoring this day as a time to connect with the sun's energy and to Mother Nature. The solstice coincides with the celebration of Litha, or midsummer, a time of sunshine, a world in full bloom, a time to be outside, a time to feel dirt under your bare feet. It is a magical time, a time to mark when seeds sown are growing and heading to Lunasa, the first harvest in August. It is one of the 8 Sabbats celebrated by those who observe the wheel of the year. Litha, meaning all things gentle, pleasant, and navigable, is also one of the 4 major seasonal festivals. Scandinavian cultures considered midsummer a highlight of the year. Druids called this summer Albanhafen, meaning light of summer, while Native Americans used this time to construct stone medicine wheels in alignment with sunrises and sunsets. Yet it seems that most cultures viewed this time as one to exalt the fruitful abundance of the season and connect with the sun. Depending on the culture, celebrations included song and drum circles, bonfires, dance ceremonies, meditation, sweat lodges, and feasts. Wearing protective garlands of herbs and flowers to ward off evil spirits was common. Since this was an active time for fairies, things such as lavender, fennel, and chamomile were left out as offerings. It was a time to set intentions, bury negatives, grow, manifest what you wanted, a time to be grateful for Mother Earth and embrace the season. Gifts were also given to the many gods and goddesses who were honored during this season. These included Ra, Apollo, Aten, and the Oak King, all associated with the sun and strength. Aphrodite, Venus, Etain, and Rhiannon, all connected with fertility, and the Green Man linked to nature, growth, and the cycle of life. Then, of course, there was Litha herself, representing the energy of the sun, growth, and abundance. So as the solstice approaches, there are so many ways to celebrate, but I will try to name a few. Water, nature walks, manifesting, meditating, and feasting are all big parts of the celebration. So this would be a great time to walk along the reservoir, the creek, or other bodies of water while doing some of the aforementioned. In feasting, embrace seasonal foods along with food grilled or barbecued. Incorporate foods related to Litha, such as lemons, oranges, mangoes, peaches, yellow squash, corn, or tomatoes. Use herbs and spices such as fennel, rosemary, thyme, and sage, also connected to the holiday. Drink mead, use honey. Make ceremonial cacao while stirring your intentions into the cup. Do a candle ritual using oils and plants inspired by the solstice, such as bergamot, lemon, lavender, St. John's wort, meadowsweet, rose, and verbena, just to name a few. Create an altar using the Litha colors of yellow, gold, green, and blue, and decorate it with items that are symbols of summer or sacred to you. Make wreaths and garlands of solstice flowers such as roses, daisies, sunflowers, marigolds, and lavender. Go on a scavenger hunt. Get your hands and feet dirty. Garden. Stay up and stargaze. Tie together and dry out sage, rosemary, and bay and use it to purify your home while again setting intentions. Make sun tea, steeping tea bags in water outside in the sun as a way to absorb the sun's energy. Make herbal ice cubes by adding lavender, mint, or rose and add them to your summer drinks. Take a bath with flowers and herbs, sing, and dance in the sun. But while celebrating, remember the sun does not only shine for trees and flowers, but for the entire world's joy. With warmth and sun come more positive emotions and energy and a tendency to feel better. So I will end by wishing you all a fulfilling, kind, gentle season and a happy summer solstice.
If you are a visual artist in the Peak to Peak area and want to include your studio, gallery, or workspace in the fall Peak to Peak Studio Tour, then go to themountaineer.com and sign up today. It is free to join, and artists will showcase their finest work to visitors and art lovers in all autumn splendor. Again, to sign up, visit themountaineer.com and follow the links to the Peak to Peak Studio Tour. And now, Dango interviews Miranda Fisher, Nederland Town Administrator. She shares information pertaining to the upcoming town hall event where all locals are encouraged to come and share their input and thoughts about the future of Nederland.
Hi, Miranda. Thanks for joining us. Can you please go ahead and introduce yourself for our listening audience?
Of course, Miranda Fisher, Town Administrator for the Town of Nederland.
And as a way to increase public engagement, we hear there is a town hall scheduled. Can you tell us about what's planned and what the town is hoping to gain from the event?
Absolutely. So Tuesday the 20th, 6 o'clock to 8 p.m., so right before the regular board meeting, and we're starting the board meeting a little bit later, we're doing a public engagement town hall. And really the purpose of this, or how it came to be, is the town recently created a new public engagement manager position that Peter Kasich is in that role. And there's also board of trustee members who are really recognizing the importance of prioritizing public engagement and having open discussions about how can we improve the way in which we gain feedback. Recently, we saw in that Mountaineer article about the housing needs assessment, just recognizing that, maybe your traditional options of social media blasts and websites are obviously not reaching all the people we need to hear from. And we appreciate and value the voices we do hear from time and time again, but also recognize that there is this whole population of not only Nederland residents, but the surrounding community who care about what's happening in Nederland. And we need to figure out different ways we can hear from them about how they feel on the current community projects or whatever it is that's happening in Nederland. So this town hall gives us an opportunity to really talk through, what does public engagement mean? What does it look like for people? But then also using maybe very specific topics to get the conversation going.
The issue of affordable and attainable housing will be one of the issues being discussed. Can you tell people about the housing assessment survey that is also available to complete online?
Yes, I think we've heard time and time again that housing is a need. We know it, we feel it, we see it, but we really haven't studied it in current time. The town has a housing assessment from 2013, but so much has changed in the last decade. And so what this housing needs assessment does is it helps us get a pulse on what kind of housing stock we have, what's available to people, and where there might be situations where our code or ordinances in town are perhaps a limiting factor to affordable or alternative housing. But rather than leaving it at this really high bureaucratic level, we want to hear directly from people. And really two ways to do that. There's an interactive map where someone can just easily drop a pin that says, I want to see housing here, or I don't want to see housing here, or if you develop housing, here are maybe some conflicts you should consider when developing. That's a really quick, easy, if you don't have a lot of time, takes just a couple minutes to go in and do that. There is a more in-depth survey, though. It's about 15 minutes long, that really just helps us understand who is in our community, what is their current housing situation, what might be barriers to staying here, and what type of housing they would like to see in the future. So things like less restrictions or more ability to develop accessory dwelling units or multifamily housing. What strategies do they have? So it's kind of put yourself in the shoes of a decision maker for the town of Nederland, and what decisions would you make, or what changes would you make to ensure that there is more sustainable, alternative, and affordable housing in our community. And a big part of that is wanting to live in place. We know a lot of people have moved out over the years, and we want to be a community where you can move here and you can grow into your senior ages here and having that opportunity. But we can't build it unless we have a true assessment of what our housing situation looks like.
Another big topic for locals, and one that will also be addressed at the town hall, is tourism. Is this also one of the topics that people will be able to comment on?
Yes. So the town of Nederland went through a Colorado Tourism Office program called Reimagine Destinations. And what that was is really recognizing, tourists are coming, right? I said it earlier today, everyone loves Nederland. And so they're here, they're coming. But what does it mean to be responsible? We're not looking to get into the tourism game where we market Nederland as like everyone must come here. But we recognize that since people do enjoy being in Nederland, how can we create their experiences as one where they respect our community? And that's where Do Nederland Right comes from. It's really recognizing that you're a visitor in our community, and here's what we expect of you. We expect that you respect our nature and our open spaces. We expect that, the way in which you interact with the residents or the business workers here is in a respectful and positive way. You celebrate and value that we're such a small community, and you honor that in the way you interact with us. And just also recognizing, tourism holds a space here in that we do have infrastructure needs that could be funded under sales tax that could allow us to address the parking. And so I know when we've talked a bit about tourism, people say, well, we have nowhere to park them, or there's no way to get them through the community on the street. And just recognizing that comes hand in hand. We, in order to have responsible tourism, we have an ownership to this community to build the appropriate infrastructure to not only support those who live here, but also to support those who are coming. And kind of a tie into this is we're doing a multimodal transportation plan right now that helps us study how can we improve our infrastructure for both residents and visitors to make it a more pleasurable experience to get through town, to park in town, and to participate in everything we have to offer here.
So Miranda, public engagement and surveys are great ways to gather information from the community. But at what point will people begin to see action on some of these bigger issues?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that there is survey fatigue, there is plan fatigue. Where I think we struggled in the past, if just kind of my personal opinion, is not having our plans then solidified and actionable next steps that are then subsequently tied to the budget. And here's an example of we have a master infrastructure plan, but for a while there, we weren't planning our capital improvement projects around that plan. And so the plan then just becomes a document that sits on the shelf. And that's something as municipalities, I think we joke about a lot of making sure that's not what happens to our plans. And so an example is, what comes out of this housing is investing in a rewrite of code. Well, then there needs to be the appropriate funding set aside for legal to do just that. And so if these things don't cross connect, where you have the financial means to do the project listed in the plan then means nothing. And so I think that that's where the board of trustees has to always focus in on budgetary priorities is one of their questions back to staff, and we need to be prepared to answer it is, tell me how this ties to the plan. Tell me in which plan does this capital improvement project fit? And that will keep the momentum going behind all the plans. Because Nederland actually has 5 plans happening at one time. And so it's great in that we're going to get the current data and the current information, but you're absolutely right. It means nothing if it doesn't become a central piece of what frames the budget. And as staff, we had some significant staff changeover. It's a pretty new group here, but there is kind of an understanding that even I don't sign off on things that don't have some sort of tying back to these documents we worked so hard on. And I think the Board of Trustees is beginning to also work to prioritize that as well when they look at what are their goals for the next year and what are they willing to put first financially. I also think the other answer to that hard question is stability. I think not only have we seen that changeover in staff, but we saw that changeover in this board. This board became a full board only 5 months ago, and the next election is in April. And so really, ideally, having community members run and be a part of the Board of Trustees who can help stand with staff or champion with staff the continued budgetary prioritization of these plans. But stability is a very large component of that. And I'm kind of hoping, kind of tied back to public engagement, we can figure out what the barriers are for people not running or not wanting to serve on the Board of Trustees. And are there things we can do to remove those barriers or concerns so we can see that stability amongst our governing authority?
It really seems that the town is open to hearing from the community and is working to give a bigger voice to residents about these important issues. Would you say that's true?
We want to be creative. We don't want to use the standard set of tools to get information out there. And so we're all ears. And same with staff. If there's any barriers to feeling like information is getting to staff or people are feeling supported, we want to hear that, because we can't improve public engagement if people feel like, they're being stonewalled or they're not being heard. We want to make sure that we absorb any feedback people have, positive or challenging, because we're only going to get better if we hear it. And I think that's what we're missing right now is people might be frustrated with the way in which information is disseminated, but we're not hearing that. And so we're not sure how we can improve. So we want to hear the positive, the negative, here are my recommendations. We want it all. And whether it comes through this town hall or some of our social media channels, or even just a call to Peter, we welcome all of it and really hope that our momentum here will maybe build some bridges or make people feel more comfortable that we're listening, we're eager to change, eager to hear all opinions, and just want to continue to get better in how we integrate the opinions of the community as a whole, both Nederland and outside, into the decisions that we make or that we recommend to the board as they kind of go through, again, their budgetary priorities or their goals for the year, that all of that is founded in what does this community care about.
And can you tell people the best way to keep up with the development of these projects and other new information regarding the town?
Yes. So our website, which is townofnederland.colorado.gov. I would also say our social media channels are great. And one thing I want to highlight too is on the 20th, we will be releasing our Engagement HQ, which is a very interactive platform that we're calling Engage Nederland, where you can find out where we stand on projects or have back and forth communication using kind of this non-traditional channel. But this site allows you're curious what's happening with our sidewalk project. You can go there and get the most up-to-date information, as well as the contact information for the primary person working on that project. So you're not feeling like you have to dig through people to figure out who to talk to. We connect you right to the person who has the most information.
Thank you, Miranda. Again, the town hall is scheduled for Tuesday, June 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Nederland Community Center.
That concludes this week's episode of the Mountain Air Podcast, where everybody's listening.
Visit our website at www.themountaineer.com to read more information about today's guests. Pick up a copy of this week's print edition of The Mountaineer at newsstands all across the Peak to Peak. I'm Dango Rose.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. Thank you for listening.
You name it, we've got it.
up here in the mountains, things are weird.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak-to-Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.